There are mornings when the greatest thing we can do is simply stop. Before the noise of the day begins, before the messages arrive, before the responsibilities start calling our name, there is a quiet moment waiting for us, a moment to remember that we are here. And that alone is a reason to say, "Thank you, God." Thank you for this morning. Thank you for the breath in our lungs, the strength in our bodies, and the opportunity to begin again. We may not know what this day will bring, but we know who holds the day in His hands. This morning we are not coming before God only with requests. We are coming with gratitude. Because sometimes the blessing is not what has already arrived. Sometimes the blessing is the strength to keep believing while we wait. So today let us thank God first. Before we ask for success, let us thank Him for the opportunity to try. Before we ask for abundance, let us recognize what we already have. Before we ask Him to open another door, let us thank Him for every door He has already opened. And when the world tries to steal our joy, let us remember that joy is not merely a response to perfect circumstances. Joy can be a decision of the heart, a quiet declaration that says, "I will still praise God, I will still believe, I will still move forward." Today, may God settle your heart with peace. May He quiet the thoughts that have kept you awake. May He give you wisdom where there is confusion, strength where there is weakness, and courage where there is fear. And may you enter this Tuesday believing that your story is not finished. There are blessings you have not seen yet. There are opportunities you have not encountered yet. There are prayers whose answers are still making their way toward you. So breathe deeply, lift your heart, thank God first. And then walk into this morning with the confidence that, whatever this day holds, you do not have to face it alone. May joy fill your heart, may peace guard your mind, and may blessings overflow into every area of your life. Begin the morning with gratitude. There is something sacred about the first moments of a new morning, before the world begins asking things of you, before the responsibilities begin knocking at the door of your mind. There is a quiet space where you can simply breathe and remember, you are here. You made it to another morning. And sometimes that is the first miracle we forget to notice. We wake up and immediately begin counting what is missing. We think about the bill that needs to be paid, the conversation that needs to happen, the problem that has not yet been solved, the dream that still feels far away. We look at the calendar and see everything that demands our attention. But before you count your problems, count your blessings. Before you tell God what you need, tell Him what you are thankful for. Before you ask Him to change your circumstances, pause long enough to recognize that He has already carried you through circumstances you once believed would break you. This morning is not an accident. You have been given another opportunity to see the light come through the window, to hear the sounds of life beginning again, to take another breath, to think another thought, to love another person, to make another choice. There are people who went to sleep last night hoping they would see this morning, and they did not. There are people who would give anything for one more sunrise, one more conversation, one more chance to say I love you, one more opportunity to correct what went wrong. And here you are, still breathing, still standing, still capable of believing. So let gratitude be the first language of your morning, not because everything is perfect, not because every prayer has been answered, not because every door has opened, but because life itself is worthy of thanksgiving. There is power in saying, "Thank you, God," before you know how the story will unfold. When you thank God before the answer arrives, you are telling your heart that the absence of an answer does not mean the absence of God. You are saying, "I may not understand what is happening, but I trust that I am not walking through it alone." That kind of gratitude changes something inside you. It does not always change the situation immediately, but it changes the way you stand inside the situation. And sometimes that is where the miracle begins. Gratitude teaches the heart to see. It teaches you to notice the small blessings that anxiety makes invisible. The warm cup in your hands, the voice of someone who loves you, the roof over your head, the strength to get out of bed, the chance to begin again after yesterday did not go the way you hoped, the ability to learn, the ability to forgive, the ability to hope. These things may appear ordinary, but ordinary blessings become extraordinary when you understand how precious they truly are. There was a time when you prayed for some of the things you now consider normal. Think about that. There was a season when you asked God for strength, and now you look back and realize that you survived something you once thought you could never survive. There was a season when you asked for a door to open, and eventually another door appeared. There was a season when you wondered whether you would ever find peace again. And somehow, slowly, morning by morning, you began breathing without the weight feeling quite so heavy. Do not forget what God has already done, simply because you are waiting for what He has not done yet. Sometimes we become so focused on the next blessing that we stop appreciating the blessing in our hands. We keep asking, what is coming? And God may be whispering, look at what is already here. This morning, look at your life with fresh eyes. There may still be unfinished business. There may still be unanswered questions. There may still be dreams that seem delayed. But there is also evidence that you have been carried. You are evidence. Your survival is evidence. Your resilience is evidence. The fact that you can wake up and say, I will try again, is evidence. So thank God for another chance to become wiser, another chance to become kinder, another chance to love more deeply, another chance to release yesterday, another chance to stop punishing yourself for mistakes you can no longer change, another chance to walk toward the person you are becoming. Do not allow yesterday to steal the beauty of today. Yesterday has already had its turn. This morning belongs to you. And perhaps the greatest gift you can give yourself today is permission to begin again without carrying every burden from the past. You do not have to drag every disappointment into a new day. You do not have to let every rejection define you. You do not have to carry every word someone spoke against you. You do not have to wake up and immediately become the person everyone else expects you to be. Wake up and remember who you are. You are a human being still becoming, still learning, still growing, still being shaped by experiences that sometimes hurt and sometimes heal. And God can use both. The beautiful days and the difficult days, the victories and the disappointments, the open doors and the closed ones, even the seasons when you could not understand why something was happening. You may look back one day and realize that the delay taught you patience, the disappointment taught you discernment, the closed door protected you, and the difficult season prepared you for a responsibility you were not yet ready to carry. That is why gratitude is so powerful. It allows you to thank God not only for what you understand, but also for what you are still learning to understand. So this morning, do not rush. Take a moment. Close your eyes if you need to. Take a slow breath and say, God, thank you. Thank you for waking me. Thank you for keeping me. Thank you for the things I can see and the things I cannot yet see. Thank you for the people who love me. Thank you for the lessons that made me stronger. Thank you for the doors that opened. Thank you for the doors that closed. Thank you for protecting me from things I never knew were coming. Thank you for giving me another morning when I could have been given no morning at all. And then sit quietly for a moment. Let that gratitude settle into your spirit, because you do not need to begin this day afraid of everything that could go wrong. You can begin it grateful for everything that has gone right. You can begin it believing that your life is still being written. There is more ahead, more laughter, more lessons, more opportunities, more healing of the heart. More moments when you will look around and realize that something you once prayed for has quietly become part of your life. Do not give up simply because you cannot see it yet. A seed does not become a tree in the same moment it is planted. Some blessings require time. Some answers require preparation. Some doors require you to become strong enough to walk through them. So trust the process. Trust God. And while you wait, give thanks. Because gratitude does something beautiful. It turns your attention from what you lack toward what you have, from fear toward faith, from yesterday toward today, and from anxiety about tomorrow toward confidence in the one who holds tomorrow. This Tuesday morning, let your first words be words of thanksgiving. Let your first thoughts be thoughts of hope. Let your first posture be one of humility. And let your heart say, God, whatever this day brings, walk with me through it. You do not need to know every detail. You only need enough faith for this morning, enough courage for this step, enough gratitude to recognize that being alive is already a gift. So rise gently, rise gratefully, rise with your heart open. There may be challenges waiting for you today, but there are also blessings you have not discovered yet. There may be things you cannot control, but there is still much you can choose. Choose gratitude. Choose faith. Choose peace. Choose to believe that your life is not defined by one difficult chapter. And when the day becomes busy, remember how it began. Remember that before you asked God for anything, you thanked Him for everything. That simple act can become the foundation for the entire day. Because when gratitude goes before you, fear does not have to lead you. When gratitude fills your heart, you begin to notice that even in an imperfect life, there is still beauty, there is still mercy, there is still possibility, there is still a reason to smile, there is still a reason to hope, and there is still a reason to say with your whole heart, "Thank you, God, for this morning." May that gratitude become joy in your spirit, peace in your mind, strength in your steps, and faith for everything that lies ahead. And may you never become so busy waiting for tomorrow's blessing that you forget to thank God for today's gift. Choose joy before circumstances change. There is a kind of joy that does not wait for permission. It does not wait until every bill is paid, every prayer is answered, every relationship is repaired, or every door has opened. It does not stand at the edge of your life saying, "I will be happy when everything finally becomes the way I want it to be." No. Real joy can begin right here, in the middle of the unanswered question, in the middle of the waiting, in the middle of a morning when you may not know exactly what tomorrow will bring. Because joy is not always the result of perfect circumstances. Sometimes joy is a decision you make in the presence of imperfect circumstances. And this morning you can choose it. You can wake up and say, "I will not allow yesterday to decide what kind of heart I carry today." That does not mean pretending that pain does not exist. It does not mean smiling when you are hurting just to convince everyone that everything is fine. It means acknowledging the difficulty without allowing the difficulty to become the master of your spirit. There are things in life you cannot control. You cannot control every person's opinion of you. You cannot control how quickly a door opens. You cannot control whether someone understands your heart. You cannot control every unexpected change. You cannot control how long some prayers take to receive an answer. But you can choose what you will carry inside yourself while you walk through those things. And one of the most powerful choices you can make is joy, not shallow happiness, not a temporary feeling that disappears when the circumstances change, but a deeper joy, a quiet confidence that says, "My situation may not be perfect, but my hope is still alive." There will be mornings when you wake up and everything feels heavy. You may have responsibilities waiting for you. You may have memories you wish you could erase. You may have questions that have followed you from one season into another. You may wonder when things will finally change. And in those moments you may be tempted to postpone your joy. You may tell yourself, "When this problem is solved, then I will smile. When I receive the answer, then I will celebrate. When the money comes, then I will have peace. When that person changes, then I will be happy." But what if joy does not have to wait? What if you can find one small reason to rejoice today, even while you are still waiting for something bigger? What if you can be grateful for the sunrise while still praying for the breakthrough? What if you can laugh with someone you love while still carrying a burden? What if you can enjoy this moment without requiring your entire future to be settled first? That is a different kind of strength. It is the strength to live today while trusting God with tomorrow. Sometimes we spend so much time preparing to be happy in the future that we forget to experience the life that is happening right now. We say, one day I will rest, one day I will travel, one day I will smile without worrying, one day I will feel proud of myself, one day I will finally enjoy my life. But this morning is also a day you once did not have. This breath is also a gift. This moment is also part of your story. Do not throw away today because tomorrow has not arrived. There is beauty waiting in ordinary places. Perhaps it is in the sound of someone you love. Perhaps it is in a quiet cup of coffee. Perhaps it is in sunlight falling across the room. Perhaps it is in the simple realization that you survived something that once frightened you. Perhaps it is in the freedom to begin again. Joy does not always arrive wearing a grand entrance. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it sits quietly beside you. Sometimes it is simply the strength to say, "I am still here," and that is enough to begin. You have lived through days you thought you could not survive. You have faced disappointments that changed you. You have walked through seasons that tested your patience, and still here you are. That means something. It means your story has not ended. It means there are still pages waiting to be written. So do not let one difficult chapter convince you that the whole book is sad. One closed door does not mean every door is closed. One disappointment does not mean every dream is lost. One difficult season does not mean you will live in difficulty forever. Life changes. People change. Circumstances change. And sometimes when you least expect it, the thing you thought would never move begins to move. But while you wait for change, you do not have to surrender your joy. You can carry joy with you. You can choose to speak kindly to yourself. You can choose to notice what is still good. You can choose to stop rehearsing every negative possibility. You can choose to stop giving your entire day to one problem. You can choose to breathe. You can choose to pray. You can choose to believe that God is working even when the evidence is not yet visible. Faith and joy can walk together. Faith says, I do not see the whole road. Joy says, but I can still take the next step. Faith says, I do not know when the answer will come. Joy says, but I will not waste today waiting in despair. Faith says, there are things beyond my control. Joy says, then I will place them in God's hands. That is how you protect your heart. Not by pretending that storms will never come, but by refusing to believe that storms are the only thing your life has to offer. There will be sunshine again. There will be laughter again. There will be mornings when you wake up and realize that the thing you cried about has become the thing you learned from. There will be moments when you understand why you had to wait. And perhaps one day you will look back at this very season and say, I did not know it then, but God was teaching me how to stand. So stand with joy, not because everything has been fixed. Stand because you are still becoming. Stand because there is still purpose in you. Stand because your life still has meaning. Stand because you have more to give. And most importantly, stand because you do not have to let circumstances dictate the condition of your soul. Joy is not weakness. Joy is resistance. When life says, be bitter, you can say, I will remain grateful. When disappointment says, give up, you can say, I will try again. When fear says, nothing will change, you can say, I still believe. When yesterday says, remember what happened, you can say, today is new. That is not denial. That is courage. This morning, give yourself permission to experience joy without guilt. You do not have to apologize for smiling because someone else is struggling. You do not have to feel guilty because your life has moments of happiness while someone else is walking through a difficult season. Your joy does not diminish someone else's pain. And your gratitude does not deny the existence of hardship. You can acknowledge the broken places and still celebrate what remains whole. You can grieve what you lost and still appreciate what you have. You can be tired and still hopeful. You can be uncertain and still faithful. You can be waiting and still joyful. That is the beauty of the human spirit. It can hold more than one truth at the same time. You can say this is difficult and still say God is good. You can say I do not understand and still say I trust Him. You can say I am waiting and still say I will rejoice today. So when you step into this Tuesday, do not make happiness dependent on everything going according to plan. Plans can change. People can change their minds. Circumstances can shift. But you can remain grounded. Let your joy come from somewhere deeper. Let it come from gratitude. Let it come from faith. Let it come from knowing that you have survived before. Let it come from believing that your future is larger than your current circumstances. And when something good happens today, even something small, stop long enough to appreciate it. Do not rush past your blessings. If you laugh, laugh fully. If someone loves you, receive that love. If you see something beautiful, look at it. If you have a moment of peace, do not immediately fill it with worry. Stay there for a moment. Let yourself be present. Let yourself live. Because life is not only the great breakthrough at the end of the road. Life is also the footsteps you take along the way. And perhaps the miracle you need this morning is not that every problem disappears. Perhaps the miracle is that your heart becomes strong enough to experience joy while you are still walking through the process. So choose joy today. Choose it deliberately. Choose it when you wake up. Choose it when you face an unexpected problem. Choose it when someone disappoints you. Choose it when the answer takes longer than you expected. Choose it because you have decided that your spirit will not be controlled by every changing circumstance. You may not control what happens around you, but you can decide what grows within you. Let faith grow, let gratitude grow, let peace grow, and let joy grow, because someday you may look back and realize that the circumstances did not change overnight. You changed first. Your perspective changed. Your heart became lighter. Your faith became deeper. And suddenly, the same road that once looked impossible began to look like a road you could walk. So walk it. Walk it with your head lifted. Walk it with gratitude in your heart. Walk it knowing that you are allowed to smile before everything is perfect. You are allowed to hope before you see the answer. You are allowed to rejoice before the breakthrough arrives. This morning choose joy, not because life has promised you an easy day, but because you have decided that difficulty will not have the final word. Let joy rise before the sun has fully settled into the sky. Let it remind you that you are alive. Let it remind you that there is still possibility. Let it remind you that your story is still unfolding. And let your heart whisper one simple truth. I will not wait for life to become perfect before I give thanks for the life I have. Today is here. This breath is here. This moment is here. And that is enough reason to begin with joy. Invite God's peace into your mind. There comes a moment when you have to stop fighting every thought that enters your mind and simply place it in God's hands, because the mind can become a crowded room. It can hold yesterday's regrets, today's responsibilities, tomorrow's fears, old conversations, unanswered questions, and imagined disasters, all at the same time. And sometimes, before your feet even touch the floor in the morning, your mind has already traveled 100 miles. You wake up thinking about what needs to be done. You remember what went wrong. You wonder what might go wrong. You think about the conversation you wish you had handled differently. You worry about the person you love. You wonder whether the opportunity will come. You wonder whether the money will be enough. You wonder whether the door will open. And before the day has even begun, your heart is already tired. But this morning you do not have to carry every thought that knocks on the door of your mind. You can invite God into that space. You can say, Lord, my mind is tired. My heart is carrying things I cannot solve. I need your peace. Peace is not always the absence of trouble. Sometimes peace is knowing that trouble does not have to control you. There may still be questions. There may still be uncertainty. There may still be things you wish were different, but peace allows you to stand in the middle of uncertainty without allowing uncertainty to steal your entire day. There is a difference between having a problem and becoming consumed by the problem. The problem may be real. The responsibility may be real. The concern may be real. But fear does not have to become the voice that speaks the loudest. You can choose another voice. You can choose faith. You can choose prayer. You can choose stillness. You can choose to remember that you are not responsible for controlling everything. Some things belong in your hands. Some things belong in God's hands. Wisdom is learning the difference. How much unnecessary suffering comes from trying to control what was never ours to control. We try to control other people's opinions. We try to control outcomes. We try to control timing. We try to control the future. We try to control what someone else will decide. And when life refuses to obey our plans, we become anxious. But what if this morning you released what you cannot control? What if you stopped asking yourself, how am I going to fix everything? And instead asked, what is the next faithful step I can take? That question changes the atmosphere of the heart. You do not need to solve your entire life before breakfast. You do not need to know how every chapter ends. You do not need to have every answer before you take the next step. Sometimes you only need enough faith for today, enough peace for this moment, enough courage for the next decision. And when tomorrow arrives, you can meet tomorrow with the strength God gives you then. But today is today. So breathe. Slow down. Let your shoulders relax. Let your heart remember that you are not alone. There is something powerful about beginning the morning with prayer before beginning the morning with worry. Instead of reaching first for the problems, reach first for God. Before the phone fills your mind with other people's lives, fill your heart with God's presence. Before the demands of the day begin speaking, take a quiet moment and listen. You may discover that peace does not always shout. Sometimes peace whispers. Sometimes it comes as a quiet assurance that says, "You will get through this." Sometimes it comes as the strength to stop replaying what happened yesterday. Sometimes it comes as the courage to say, "I cannot change what has already happened, but I can choose what I do next." And sometimes peace comes when you finally understand that you are allowed to rest. You do not have to be strong every second. You do not have to pretend that nothing hurts. You do not have to have a perfect answer for every problem. You are human. You are allowed to become tired. You are allowed to say, "God, I need help." There is no shame in that prayer. In fact, there is strength in it, because surrender is not giving up. Surrender is releasing the illusion that you have to carry the whole world by yourself. There are burdens that become lighter when you stop carrying them alone. There are worries that lose their power when you speak them honestly before God. So tell Him what scares you. Tell Him what you do not understand. Tell Him what you are hoping for. Tell Him what you are afraid to lose. Tell Him what you cannot say to anyone else. You do not have to decorate your prayer with perfect words. God does not need a performance. He wants your heart. Come honesty. Come tired. Come hopeful. Come uncertain. Come grateful. Come exactly as you are. And then leave some room for silence, because prayer is not only about speaking. Sometimes it is about becoming still enough to recognize peace when it arrives. You may not receive an immediate answer. You may not suddenly understand everything, but something inside you can begin to change. Your breathing becomes slower. Your thoughts become quieter. Your perspective becomes clearer. You begin to remember that the problem in front of you is not bigger than the God you trust, and that remembrance can give you strength. There will always be things competing for your peace. Somebody's words, somebody's behavior, an unexpected bill, a disappointing message, a delayed opportunity, a difficult decision, a memory from the past, a fear about the future. But not everything deserves access to your inner world. You must learn to protect your peace. That does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming wise. You can love people without carrying their chaos. You can care about circumstances without allowing them to consume you. You can acknowledge a problem without giving it every waking thought. You can say, "This matters, but it will not own me." There is freedom in that. This morning, imagine placing every worry before God, one by one. The financial worry, the family worry, the future worry, the relationship worry, the unanswered prayer, the decision you do not know how to make, the dream you are afraid may never happen. Place them down and say, "God, I trust you with this." Maybe you will have to say it more than once. That is all right. Sometimes surrender is not a single moment. Sometimes you release the same worry 10 times in one day. You give it to God in the morning. Then your mind picks it up at noon. So you give it back. Then you remember it at night. So you give it back again. That is not failure. That is practice. Peace becomes stronger as you learn to return to it. And perhaps that is what this morning is inviting you to do. Return. Return to faith. Return to prayer. Return to gratitude. Return to the knowledge that you are not walking through this life without guidance. You may not know what the afternoon will bring. You may not know what tomorrow will look like, but you know that this moment is in front of you. So live this moment. Do not suffer tomorrow's problems before tomorrow arrives. Do not punish yourself with imaginary conversations. Do not create disasters that have not happened. Do not turn possibilities into certainties. The mind can tell stories that are not true. Fear can make a question feel like an answer. But you do not have to believe every fearful thought simply because it entered your mind. Pause. Breathe. Pray. Ask yourself, is this something I know or something I fear? That simple distinction can change everything, because fear often speaks in absolutes. Nothing will work. Everything will go wrong. I will never recover. I will always feel this way. But life has already proven that change is possible. You have changed before. Circumstances have changed before. Doors have opened before. You have survived before. So do not let one difficult moment convince you that your entire future has been decided. God can make a way where you cannot yet see one. And while you wait for that way to appear, protect the peace within you. Guard your thoughts. Choose what you listen to. Choose what you repeatedly tell yourself. Speak words of hope over your own life. Tell yourself, I can take this one day at a time. I do not have to solve everything today. I can trust God with what I cannot control. I can move forward without knowing every detail. I can have peace while I wait. Those words may seem simple, but sometimes simple truths are the ones we need most. This Tuesday morning, do not begin your day by surrendering your mind to fear. Begin by surrendering your mind to God. Let Him meet you in the quiet place. Let Him meet you in the uncertainty. Let Him meet you in the questions. Let Him meet you in the places where you feel weak. And when you walk into the world today, carry less. You do not need to carry every opinion. You do not need to carry every mistake. You do not need to carry every possible future. Carry faith. Carry gratitude. Carry wisdom. Carry peace. And when something tries to disturb that peace, remember where you found it. You found it in surrender. You found it in prayer. You found it in trusting something greater than your own understanding. So breathe again. Lift your eyes. Let this morning be a reminder that peace is available, even before circumstances change. The storm may still be outside, but there can be stillness within. The questions may remain, but your heart can remain steady. The future may be uncertain, but your faith can be certain. And today, that is enough. Walk into this Tuesday knowing that you do not have to carry the whole day at once. Take one step. Say one prayer. Take one breath. Trust God with the next moment. And let His peace become the quiet strength that carries you through everything that comes. Because sometimes the greatest blessing is not that God removes every challenge from your path. Sometimes it is that He gives you peace strong enough to walk through the challenge without losing yourself along the way. Trust God with what you cannot control. There are some things in life that will never fit neatly inside your hands. You can plan carefully, pray sincerely, work faithfully, and still discover that some doors do not open when you want them to. Some answers take longer than expected. Some people make choices you cannot change. Some circumstances arrive without asking permission. And when that happens, the heart can become restless. You begin asking questions. Why did this happen? Why is it taking so long? Why did that door close? Why did this person leave? Why did the answer not come when I prayed? Questions are not signs that you have no faith. They are signs that you are human. But there comes a moment when you must stop trying to control what was never yours to control. There comes a moment when you have to place the unanswered question into God's hands and say, I do not understand this, but I trust you. That is not an easy prayer. Sometimes it is one of the hardest prayers you will ever pray, because we want certainty. We want to know what is coming. We want to know how everything will work out. We want to see the entire road before we take the first step. But faith rarely gives you the whole map. Sometimes faith gives you enough light for the next step. And that has to be enough. Think about how often you have worried about something you could not change. You worried about what someone would say. You worried about what someone would decide. You worried about whether an opportunity would come. You worried about whether something would work. You worried about what tomorrow might bring. And while you were worrying about tomorrow, today was passing quietly through your hands. That is the cost of trying to control everything. You lose the present while attempting to manage the future. But God has not asked you to carry tomorrow today. Today has enough of its own responsibilities. Today has enough beauty. Today has enough opportunity. Today has enough grace. So let tomorrow remain where it belongs, in tomorrow. You can prepare for it. You can pray about it. You can work toward it. But you do not have to live there before you arrive. This morning, give yourself permission to release what you cannot control. Release the outcome. Release the timing. Release other people's choices. Release the need to understand every detail. Release the fear that says everything depends on you. Because everything does not depend on you. You have a part to play. You should work. You should prepare. You should make wise decisions. You should show up. You should do what is within your ability. But after you have done your part, There comes a point where you must trust God with the rest. That is where surrender begins. Surrender does not mean laziness. It does not mean sitting still and expecting everything to happen without effort. Surrender means you do your part without pretending that you are God. You recognize the limits of your control. You recognize the limits of your understanding, and you trust the one whose understanding is greater than yours. Sometimes the closed door is the protection you did not recognize. Sometimes the delay is preparation. Sometimes the disappointment is redirection. Sometimes the thing you begged God to give you would have brought a burden you were not ready to carry. And sometimes you will not understand why until much later. Maybe months from now. Maybe years from now. Maybe never. But faith says, even if I do not understand the reason, I can still trust the one who sees what I cannot see. That kind of trust is not built in easy seasons. It is built when the answer does not come. It is built when the door closes. It is built when the plan changes. It is built when you have to keep walking without knowing exactly where the road leads. Anyone can say they trust God when everything is going according to plan. But there is a deeper kind of trust that says, even here I believe, even when the phone does not ring, even when the opportunity does not come, even when the person does not return, even when the money is not yet there, even when the dream seems delayed, even when you are tired of waiting. I still believe. That sentence can become an anchor, because faith does not promise that you will never experience uncertainty. It promises that uncertainty does not have to destroy your peace. You can be unsure about the future and still be certain that you are not alone. You can be confused about the path and still trust the guide. You can be disappointed with the situation and still believe that your life has purpose. This morning, think about the things you have been carrying. Perhaps there is something you have tried to fix again and again. Perhaps there is a relationship you cannot repair by yourself. Perhaps there is an opportunity you desperately want. Perhaps there is a decision whose outcome is beyond your control. Perhaps there is something you keep thinking about late at night. Name it. You do not have to hide it from God, and then place it in His hands. Say, Lord, I have done what I can. Now I trust you with what I cannot. You may feel the urge to pick it back up 5 minutes later. That is human. So place it down again. You may worry about it at lunch. Place it down again. You may wake up tomorrow thinking about it. Place it down again. Trust is sometimes a daily practice. Sometimes it is an hourly practice. Sometimes it is a moment-by-moment practice. But every time you release the burden, you are reminding yourself that fear does not have to be your master. You are saying, I refuse to spend my entire life trying to control what belongs beyond my reach. There is freedom in that decision. Imagine how much energy you could recover if you stopped rehearsing conversations that may never happen. Imagine how much peace you could experience if you stopped trying to predict every possible outcome. Imagine how much joy could return if you stopped allowing one unanswered question to occupy every corner of your mind. You are allowed to live while you wait. Read that again in your heart. You are allowed to live while you wait. You are allowed to laugh. You are allowed to enjoy your family. You are allowed to pursue your dreams. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to be grateful. You are allowed to have a beautiful Tuesday even if one part of your life is still uncertain. Waiting does not cancel living. Uncertainty does not cancel joy. A delayed answer does not cancel God's presence. Sometimes we think that if we stop worrying, we will somehow stop caring. But worry is not proof of love. You can care deeply without carrying constant anxiety. You can pray without panicking. You can prepare without obsessing. You can love without controlling. You can hope without demanding a specific outcome. That is freedom. And perhaps the greatest act of faith you can make today is to say, God, I trust you with the things I cannot control. Not because you have every answer, not because you know exactly what will happen, but because you know that your vision is limited. You can see today. God sees beyond today. You see the closed door. He may see the road beyond it. You see the delay. He may see the preparation taking place. You see the disappointment. He may see the protection hidden inside it. You see the ending. He may see a beginning. So do not judge the whole story from one page. You are living inside a chapter. God sees the book, and sometimes what looks like an ending is simply the place where the story turns. Keep walking. Keep praying. Keep doing what is right. Keep your heart open, but release your demand to know exactly how everything will happen. There is a peace that comes when you stop forcing the future to reveal itself. You begin to say, whatever comes, I will meet it with faith. That is strength. That is maturity. That is trust. And when you trust God, you do not become passive. You become lighter. You can work without desperation. You can pursue without fear. You can dream without making one outcome responsible for your happiness. You can accept that some things will happen in their own time. This Tuesday morning, take your hands off what you cannot control. Not because it does not matter. It matters. But because your peace matters too. Your mind matters. Your heart matters. Your life today matters. Give God the burden and keep the lesson. Give God the outcome and keep the effort. Give God the timing and keep the faith. Give God the future and live faithfully in the present. And when fear whispers, what if it does not work? Answer gently, then God will still be with me. When fear asks, what if the door never opens? Answer, then I will trust that another path exists. When fear says, what if you cannot handle what comes next? Answer, I will receive the strength for the next step when I reach it. You do not need tomorrow's strength today. You need today's strength today. And God knows how to give you what you need for the moment you are living. So breathe, release, trust, walk. Let your hands become open instead of clenched. Let your heart become willing instead of fearful. Let your spirit remember that control was never the foundation of peace. Trust is. And perhaps today, the greatest blessing will not be that everything changes according to your wishes. Perhaps the greatest blessing will be that you become peaceful enough to accept what you cannot change, courageous enough to change what you can, and wise enough to know the difference. So step into this Tuesday with faith. Do your part. Give your best. Love sincerely. Work faithfully. Pray honestly. And then let God handle the things that are beyond your reach. You do not have to know every answer. You do not have to see every step. You only have to trust enough to take the next one. And as you walk forward, remember this. The future does not have to be visible for you to believe that it can be beautiful. The door does not have to be open yet for you to believe that there is a way. The answer does not have to be in your hands for you to believe that God is still working. So let go of what you cannot control. Give it to God and keep walking. Your hands may be empty of control, but your heart can be full of faith. And sometimes that is where the real freedom begins.